All right, good evening, everyone. I am here with a special piece called Behind the Logo, and I get to sit down with the founder of GCH, Jake Drozynski. And so I think we're just going to jump right into it here. And how's it going, buddy?
Pleasure to be here, Colin. It's good to finally get away from the business side and sit down and relax after a hard weekend and talk for a little bit.
Yeah, you seem to always be the worker. You never get to just sit down and do stuff, huh? We get to do all the playing, huh?
It's worth it though, right? There's no rest for the wicked for sure.
Yeah.
And, all the hard work hopefully is worth it at the end.
Yeah, well, I think so. But first, let's kind of just start. So now we're 3 years into this. Let's jump back to the very beginning and why everything started.
Well, I think where it all started is, the love for the game has always been there for me. Right out of college, worked for the USHL for a little bit and learned a lot about the behind the scenes of hockey, right? Everybody goes to a game, grabs their beer, sits down, and that's kind of the last they think of it. But there's a ton of work on the back end, and I kind of fell in love with it, right? Right out of working for the USHL, I met Sean there, actually. We really didn't know each other very much in college for being as close as we were right at the same college. Didn't really run into each other a whole lot. So I called him up one day because he was interning in Wisconsin. And just out of the blue, he happened to be home. And I said, hey, I have this crazy idea. It's probably going to take a lot of work up front, but I think it's going to be worth it in the long run. And we started working from there. One of our first broadcasts was for youth hockey, and I know everybody said like COVID has killed their business. COVID grew our business, right?
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing with COVID was you were only allowed so many people to come to these hockey events, and we really saw that taking a lot of the feel out of the game, right?
Yeah.
There's a big deal about taking your kid to the game, cheering, banging on the glass. It makes it worth it for the parents.
Yeah.
So we decided that we needed to bring that closer to home. We started to broadcast these games and live stream with them, and interacting with the kids and interacting with the parents, it really made it worth it, right? We weren't getting paid. We were doing this for free. Great business model, right? And everybody just started to pitch in, right? We got Matt on board. We got, Ryan on board. We got a lot of people, the other Sean on board, and from there, we grew and grew and grew, and it was nobody wanting a paycheck, nobody caring about business politics, just wanting to be involved. And from there, we started to broadcast adults, and here we are today.
So I guess it's safe to say we're pretty much all rink rats.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly am, and I think that's part of the company culture it's all about love of the game, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Well, since you're talking about youth hockey and how that's where it started, so you want to go a little bit on the importance of youth hockey and how that is important to growing the game?
I think about my life today, like where I am right now, and we're sitting in my dining room at a hockey stick table, and I can look at these hockey sticks. This Easton stick right here. This is the first stick I ever had. And I think back to my youth hockey, and my youth hockey didn't exist. Yeah. It was playing pond hockey with my dad. And awesome. I kind of resent not having hockey in my life as a kid, and so I wanted to make sure that we provided something for kids that don't have that hockey experience, right? We're not in downtown Pittsburgh. We don't have the huge infrastructure, so donating my time is a little teeny tiny cost to how big of an impact it makes for some of these kids and some of the parents, right? I'm really good friends with a lot of the parents of these youth kids, and it's not something I expected. It's a byproduct and a great one.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely like one of the best things about like being part of any hockey community, right? It's like you just make so many friends. I mean, I am a perfect example, but we're not going to go into that. But I'm a perfect example of that. That's why I'm here. But yeah, so that's awesome though, because I never actually knew that about you, that you never really played youth hockey.
I started playing hockey in college, and I was always a fan of watching it, and I just decided, I'm like, nobody knows me here. There's no stigmas. I'm just gonna learn it. And so I spent every day going down to the gym. The gym was hardwood floor, like a basketball floor with concrete walls, and I just started working on skating, then started working on shooting, and I spent hours and hours down there. I'd have a 10 o'clock class over at 11, and I'd have my next one start at 1:30, and from 11:10 to 1:15, I was there at the rink setting up drills for myself, timing myself, trying to get better and better and better. And yeah, it was a lot of work, but that's, I guess, what I kind of like teach my kids, right? Is that if you put in the effort, everything's going to follow. And even if you don't make it to the NHL, I have a really cool job that's involved in hockey that isn't professional. And so, you know, it's, if you love it and you put in the work, it's going to work out for you in the long run, for sure.
And there's definitely, like, that's why we're doing this behind the logo thing, right? Is to show the fact of what is involved in hockey.
Right.
The behind the scenes thing that people don't pay attention to. So
one of the things that I tell almost anybody who genuinely gets to know me is I have everything in life in some manner or some fashion through hockey. Right? My best friends, they're kids I played with in college. My car is because I needed to get my goalie gear from point A to point B. This house, right? My line mate from college said, "Hey, this house is for sale." Even my job, my full-time job, it's for one of the kids' dads, right? I work for him. So I owe a lot to the sport, and I have a lot of admiration for hockey players. Yeah, we all yell at each other on the rink, but it's such a big community, and it's about growing that community for me, right? If you have a child, you're posting pictures of that child everywhere because you want to say, look at my baby.
Look what I've created.
Hockey's my baby, man, and I want to share with as many people as possible.
That's a beautiful statement there, sir. That's beautiful. So, all right, so let's talk a little bit about the growing pains of the business, because there's a business side of it, there's a media side of it. So, kind of like go into that, like how you take an approach to these different elements of it.
So, like I had said, we started in youth hockey, and the hard thing with that is there's not big budgets for that, right? Mm-hmm. It's the kids playing, and you put everything into the kids, right? All the practice time, all of the equipment, and it's an expensive sport. There's no question about that. And we loved doing the youth hockey. It was watching these kids develop and get better and better and better, and they're like, oh my goodness, they're better than me right now, and they're in 7th grade.
Yeah.
But when you don't have a budget behind that, you can only do that for so long. So it was always about finding a sponsor that was able to say, like, hey, we have the passion. We are willing to give up our weekends. We're not looking to personally benefit from this, but we got to get this thing rolling, which is how we started the business, right? We couldn't keep putting it out of our own pockets.
For sure.
Once we partnered with Maha and Carl, like, the business side was a lot less scary because now we knew we had some security, right? We knew we could go to Indianapolis and back, and it wouldn't hurt our personal accounts, right? We're already donating our time. To donate our money was not unheard of, but we weren't in that position, right? Yeah. We're all young. We're trying to create our lives, and we're at a point right now where things are moving smoothly, but we're still not paying any of our volunteers, and our volunteers are awesome. They're amazing. Yeah. So we're constantly looking for ways to, how do we grow this business? How do we get people involved? How do we get more viewership? And that's a pain that I don't know that I have the answer to right now, Colin. And one day I will. Hopefully it's before it's too late, but it's a lot of work, and there's a lot of reward to it too, right? For young entrepreneurs like myself, I mean, it's very, very scary. I had a mentor when I was working a couple of years ago, and he said, Jake, it's just money. You're not selling your soul to the devil. It's just money. And you'll make more money. And eventually you'll say, man, I lost a lot of money on that, but it might be worth it too. And it is worth it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the big thing for me, is that with all of the hardships of the business, I still wake up really excited about this job.
Yeah, for sure.
I work, talking to all the guys and saying, like, how do we get better? How do we get better? How do we get better? Like, that's a fun part of my day. Yeah. And it really is what drives me.
Well, I can say from personal experience of what drives all of us here, and you're definitely the leader, and we follow by your example.
You might need to get a new leader.
Well, we got Sean for backup, right? But yeah, so by the sounds of it, it really also too is a lot about hometown pride for sure. That's what I'm kind of gathering with how you're talking.
I grew up a half an hour north of here, which is even smaller than Grove City. Mm-hmm. And the reason we landed in Grove City was not to go to a big city, right? Big city has a lot of competition, and it's hard to stand out. And not that we stand out here, but the small community feel is all I've ever known. Yeah. I went to a small college, grew up at a small high school, live in a small town now. I mean, the small town feel is what's important to me. And to go out to a big city like Detroit and say, Grove City's on on my crest, that's a big deal to me. Mm-hmm. And I hope that the residents and the people of this area, respect that we're trying to grow the name of this little small town and make it something bigger than just the outlet mall. Yeah. And I'm hoping that we're getting there.
I like to think so. I personally love when we go to these tournaments and we broadcast. One of my favorite things when we walk into a place is the whole, the Grove City boys are here. The Grove City boys are here. I love that. It's so much fun. But again, thank you for everything you do. To be honest,
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna start there. Thank you for everything. I mean, you gave me. We can talk about it for hours. You gave me a place to belong and everything. So I gotta say thank you for all my heart with that.
It's not me, and that's the big thing is that people are trying to not. That people need to understand is that hockey is such a community sport. Mm-hmm. There was a interview not too long ago about who the best player in all pro sports is. And Connor McDavid came out to be the answer. And the reason why is because if you look at Michael Jordan carried a team on his own. He didn't have to rely on his teammates. The Oilers stink this year.
And you're doing good.
Connor McDavid's doing everything he can to grow it. But it's still a community. It's still about your teammates. Teams are all that life's about, right? Yeah. Your life partner, your wife, your kids, your team, your little team that you go on vacations with together. Oh, you better behave because you're my teammate.
Your Navy SEALs team.
your work companions, your friends. It's all about teamwork. And that's what hockey encompasses for me. It's about being on one of the greatest teams out there, and Grove City Hockey is one of the greatest teams out there. And it's about saying, man, I'm on a really good, really fun team. And it's all about being part of that.
Oh, I love that. Well, hey, buddy, you got anything else you want to say about it?
I guess I just want to encourage people that, this is so cliche, but go after your dreams. If you want to do something, who cares if you're unsuccessful at it? That's what dreams are built on, is waking up in the morning and trying them again. And I'm really glad that I stuck with this because there were some rough patches. If anybody wants to go look at the very first broadcast, they will know there were some rough patches. But I'm truly grateful for where we're at today as a company and as a group. I mean, I have one of the best teams in the world, and I don't resent it or regret it a single day.
Well, awesome. Well, hey, buddy, thank you so much for sitting down with me. And,
I appreciate it, Colin.
And doing this. And, Grove City Hockey, it's all about growing the game, right?
Oh, for sure. And we'll continue to grow it.
Heck yes. All right, hey, thank you so much, buddy.
Appreciate it.